Hey, what's up guys? You're watching DIY Dozier. On today's episode, we're going to be installing rough country powered steps on this 2024 GMC Sierra AT4 that you see sitting behind me. Stick around, I'll show you the tools that are required and how to get the job done. So yes, it is cold. I'm outside in the garage. Well, garage, driveway, kind of halfway in, halfway out. But yeah, I'm standing here in the garage, and we have my brand new 2024 GMC Sierra AT4 sitting behind me. And it has these factory low profile or high clearance running boards. So these running boards I am not a fan of. Funny thing, they're actually like a $1,100 factory option or something like that. But it's just too high. It doesn't bridge the gap between the truck and the ground. And the truck is, kind of tall anyway. I mean, this particular truck, I'm not going for big. Let's get right to it. So this running board here from the factory, like I said, it's a bit high. Whenever I take the step to get into the truck, I mean, stepping here is really the same as stepping there. So I just pretty much, it's a pointless step to step on this and then step inside. I just step over it and climb in and sit down. So anyway, I need something that goes a little bit lower, but I hate lower hanging running boards. So we're gonna do these rough country power steps. I checked out the reviews, they had 5 stars, they look pretty good. I have not opened the box yet. So here's the first box that arrived. I guess that's got the boards in it. And there's the second box that arrived. So, I do have a set of amp. You see that? See the, look at, it's cold out here. It's like 38 degrees or something like that. 40, 30, 35, I don't know. I do have a set of amp Research XL boards on my Denali, and they're great. I love them. The thing is, the amp Research XLs are like 2,000. I think they're 2,000 or 21 or $2,200 for the set of boards. It's unreal. The pricing is really high. Rough country, they said, hey, it's $1,000 for a set of boards. And I thought, why not give it a shot? I read all the reviews. It sounded great. The only gripe that I saw from folks is you hear the thump when the board retracts up and it hits the bottom of the truck, or it locks back into place. You hear a little thud from inside the cabin. Well, let me tell you, the amp Research bars, they do the same thing. So when they close, you get that same little clunk, and then you get a second thud once it actually locks into place. There's 2 that you hear. Get over it. It is what it is. First world problems. You want powered steps, you're going to hear a little noise. It is what it is. Anyway, yeah, without further ado, let's crack these boxes open, see what we have behind us, and get started. So with the box open for the steps themselves, they look really good quality. They look just like amp Research bars. It has the corrugated aluminum that's been coated or anodized, powder coated, whatever it is. It's got these little brackets here that slide, so you can adjust where your mounts are. It looks really simple and straightforward. Good piece. It's pretty much identical to amp Research. So get that out of the way real quick. Got the box opened over here with all the accessories in it to make it all work. Right here laid in the top was our instructions. Everything looks to be packaged nicely. Everything's bubble wrapped. Looks like we got our wiring right there. We got our brackets right here for the steps for the motors. And the motors are probably going to be in these individual boxes here. So let's get this open and see what we're looking at for tools to get the installation complete. So we have our wire harness here. We have our magnetic switches for the door, our LED lights for the steps, our on-off switch, and then some zip ties and shims for the power steps. I gotta say, this is awesome. Look at that. Rear left. Tells you exactly where it goes. Looks like great construction. It's got their rough country e-board powder-coated emblem there with, it's ground off. It's raised letters where it says RC e-board. It's really nice. It's a one-piece deal. Got the motor attached to the bracket already. This is going to be awesome. It should be relatively easy to install, just tedious and time consuming. But yeah, I'm impressed so far. And look at this, right here on top. I didn't even have to dig. But right here, we got tools required. We're going to need a 5mm Allen key, 12mm wrench, 8mm wrench, and a wire cutter. So you'll probably also need some alcohol prep wipes to wipe surfaces to put the double-sided adhesive stuff on. You will also need a 7/16 drill bit, which is not mentioned right here, but as you get further into the process of installing, clearly says using a 7/16 drill bit. So rough country, you need to add your 7/16 drill bit on the tools required. But yeah, all the hardware is included here, and there's your kit contents. I have double checked, and everything that's on this list is actually here in this box. So we're good to go. Go ahead and get this stuff unwrapped, packaged. And the first step that I have to do is I got to get these step boards removed from the truck. Now you see them, and now you don't. So now that I got the factory running boards off of the truck, I'm back over here at the instructions, and I gotta say, Rough Country really did a great job at these instructions. Clearly shows your mounting holes here, front left, right there. So, you know, it tells you how to do it. So you see right there, that's how the bracket's gonna mate up against your frame rail. So, secure the motor bracket to the body of the vehicle using the supplied M8x30 hex flange bolts. Do not tighten at this time, only leave them snug. We may have to shim these mounts when it's all done. So the thing that I'm seeing is there will be a gap at the bottom of the truck. The board will go up close to the bottom, but you're gonna have a slight gap under here between this and the board. If your gap is tight over here and it's, say, loose down there, then you can put a shim on this side to put a space to make the space even. So, you know, not all trucks are built the same. They say that there's tolerances and clearances that can change. So yeah, leave them loose because you may have to put a shim on it when you put the board in there. So just make sure everything can bolt up together before you tighten it all down. Let's get these brackets on. All right, so the directions say to install this with 2 of the provided M8x30 hex flange bolts. And this is our front left bracket. So this front left bracket's going on the driver's side. So now we're going to move on to the rear left, which is the driver's side rear. So here's my bracket, and you can see I got my 2 little bolts there in my hand. Let's go slap this guy in there. Next up on our instructions, it tells us to take these little brackets that slide along the underside of the step board and align it with the brackets that are hanging underneath the truck. You see that one down there and that one over there. So what we're going to do is get these in a general location. So that one should be good. And that one should also be good. And I got 2 of these M8 bolts here. Go ahead and put 2 in this bracket, and then we're going to put 2 more bolts over there in that bracket. So I'm going to need 4 of these little guys. You can see they already have a little bit of thread locker on the threads, which is awesome. Thank you, Rough Country, for that. And I'm going to go ahead and get these put on. Okay, so we got the first step in under there. I know the sunlight makes it a little difficult to see, but there it is. It's just loosely attached. Do not tighten the M8 bolts that hold the step board onto the brackets yet. They are just put in finger loose, and I actually already took a step back, looked at the alignment. You want to make sure you have an even gap at the back and at the front. With it loose, you can slide the board left to right to get it centered on the cab as you like it. So make sure you do that. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and do the passenger side exactly the same way as the driver's side, and I'm not going to show that. It's the same process. I'm going to go ahead and knock that out. All right, so the next step is going to be to take our controller bracket, which is this little bracket guy right here. It's supposed to bolt in on the passenger side in the center section. So if you had previous bars installed, this is going to be the passenger side step right here. That center bracket is where this is going to bolt up. There is a separate bag with 2 screws in it. These are the only different screws in the entire kit. So these 2 screws are going to be the M8x25 with a 12mm socket. When you remove your factory running boards, if you had them, it was a 13mm socket that takes off those bolts from the factory. So these 2 hold the controller on. We're going to put this up on the passenger side, center of the frame rail, where the center mount used to be located. And we're going to take our 12mm socket on our ratchet and go ahead and tighten this center bracket down. So per the instructions here, they want you to pull back the interior panel on the passenger front side floorboard area. So you got to take off the plastic trim that's right here, kick panel trim right here, pull the carpet back to expose this grommet so that you can drill a 7/16 hole in the grommet and run your wires through there from underneath the truck. So opening the passenger side door here, we have, let's go ahead and slide our seat all the way back as far as we can go with it. We're going to pull our floor mat out of the way. Get that out of there. And then we have this piece of plastic trim here. That needs to come out. And this piece of plastic right here needs to come out as well. Let's see if there's anything holding this in. They don't say in the directions. So normally they just pop out. I know this one is actually holding this one down. So the first one we're going to take out is this one here. It says AT4 on it. So I'm just going to grab a hold of it. Do this with one hand if I can. There we go. You heard it pop. All right, you heard it pop. Cool. Should just come on out of there. All right, so what I just did, I just pulled this panel straight up, and then there's a little tab for your seat trim here, right there. There's a little tab that goes down inside this slot. So you're gonna have to lift this up just a hair so that you can pull this out underneath it. And afterwards, looks like these panels are slightly attached. You just give a little tug towards you this direction, pull it towards you, and it just comes right out. There's your little snap tabs, just like all the other Silverados and Sierras. Nothing has changed really. They came out nicely, nothing cracked, nothing broke. Of course, this is a brand new truck, so you know it's not dry rotted yet. But anyway, let's sit this down. All right, and next up we're supposed to pull the carpet back and expose our grommet. There it is. It's got a little nipple right there in the middle, a little divot. Supposed to drill a 7/16 hole in that. Do not go too deep. There may be wires underneath there, and if there are, obviously you're gonna poke a hole in it. You don't want to do that. So just fold this carpet back, get it out of the way. Grab a 7/16 bit. I'm gonna take a gander under here, see what we have. I do have a wire harness underneath that. So let's show you real quick. You see that harness right there? That is directly under that grommet. So I'm not gonna go very deep. I'm just gonna penetrate the grommet there and call it a day. So I got my 7/16 bit here in my drill, loaded up, ready to go. Let's go ahead and give her a little pop there. That was it. Didn't take nothing. Wow. Ta-da. Cool. So it's actually a plastic grommet. It's just like a hard plastic. I thought it was metal. Guess not. So we were supposed to feed the harness and the on-off switch inside the cab there. It says to feed the switch through the hole. I don't know why I'd be feeding this through the hole. You'll be plugging it in the harness inside the cab. But this guy has to go through the hole. Let's get it unraveled here and see what we got. So according to this diagram here, we're going to take the white signal wire, which is on, supposed to go to the driver's side. We got our on-off switch, which has a little plug there on the end of it, and our brown signal wire. There's 3 wires here that are going to come through out of the floorboard from underneath the truck. Everything else should stay under the truck, the rest of the wiring. Let's have a look at our harness. So this is our harness here. You see I have it all laid out here in the driveway. So what we have up front here is our positive and negative that's going to go to the battery, which gives us constant power to the system. And then we're going to have our trigger wires, which are going inside the cab. These are the 3 wires that we're going to pull through the floorboard. As you can see, we got the brown wire here. There's a white wire here. And then here's our plug for the on-off switch. So over here is going to be our wire harness. This is all underneath the truck, okay? Everything is under the truck except for those 3 wires right there. Everything stays under. Those go up through the floorboard on the passenger side. This harness right here is going to plug into the control box on the passenger side that we mounted in the middle. This right here is going to be your front motor and your light. You can see it's labeled clearly. It says front right. And it's funny because this came from Rough Country, right? This whole kit came from Rough Country. And that's Chinese. So, made in China. Good job, America. Anyway, back right. Again, it's labeled clearly. That's going to be your motor and your light harness there. Same thing, front left, driver side front, driver side rear. It's got your harness for your motors and for your lights. So, all we are running through the bottom is these 3 wires. So I'm going to feed these up into the cab real quick. All right, so I get it. I know that rough country has to pick a place. They got to tell you something specific where to mount this on-off switch. It's supposedly a valet switch of some sort. That way, if you don't want it to work, for the boards to open or close, you could turn it off and they won't work. I don't know why I would want to turn them off. I want them to work. So I'm going to leave it on all the time. I'm not ever going to turn this off. There's no reason for me to turn it off. Anyway, that said, they show you to mount it here on the dashboard. This is a brand new truck, folks. I am not putting this gaudy, bulky, tall switch on my dashboard. I'm sorry. I'm not going to stick it there. It's going to look unsightly and crappy. I'm hardly ever going to... I don't see a reason to ever flip the switch. I'm sure I'll find a reason next week now that I said that. But it just attaches with a double-sided 3M adhesive tape on the back there. So I'm going to find somewhere inconspicuous that I could put this. So if you come down here under the dashboard, there's that little guy. That's just structural support for your center console. I think I'm going to take this and stick it just on that edge there, so it can sit like this, up in there, out of sight. I'll probably mount it. Actually, I could put it straight inside there like that. So yeah, there's a cavity here. Obviously, with my fat fingers trying to get inside that hole, it's gonna be difficult. But that little hot spot there from the pinch weld the seam getting welded, I think I'm just going to clean that surface off real good with some alcohol, and I'm going to stick this on that. I can reach my hand up underneath there, hit the switch. I know where it's at. It's out of sight, Yeah, so I'm going to go there. I don't want to drill a hole in a panel. I don't want to stick it on the plastic. I don't want it bulky, just sticking off the dashboard like that. It doesn't look good. So yeah, let's get that. Okay, so my switch is mounted. I cleaned it off with some alcohol and a terry towel, and there it is. You see it up underneath there, on off. So that's just underneath the dashboard to the right. So I can reach under here in my hand, and there it is. I can hit the button if I need to ever turn it off. But I doubt that's going to happen. So now I can take this wire and go ahead and connect it to the harness on the passenger side. So when pulling wires behind a dashboard, you're going to need something rigid. You could use a coat hanger. You could use some sort of metal rod or something else. I always use this braided wire that I've got. This is just 2 different colors of wire. It doesn't matter how you do it. You braid it by attaching it to a vise, and you stick it in the end of your drill. You turn the drill until it gets really tightly twisted. Anyway, this is my feed wire. So this is what I do. I take this, I uncoil it, I bend it the way I want, take it with my hand, and I run it across the underside of the dashboard there. And then you can come across to the passenger side, and I've already got it pulled through here. You can see I've pulled it from behind the dashboard there, up in there. So I just stuck my hand back there, found it, and pulled it out. So we're going to be taking the white wire. So the white wire goes to the driver's side, and the switch, which is the 2 black wires together. So these right here, white wire and the switch. We're going to take these. I'm going to tie them to this little feed wire here, and I'm just going to pull it back across to the other side. So the wires are pulled through. I've got it tucked behind the carpet. It's running up there behind the center console, and I have pulled them through to the driver's side. There's both of those wires there. I just got them hanging outside right now. And here's our harness for our plug that's up high there. I'm going to go ahead and plug the plug into the harness, and I'm going to leave it loosely attached for now. I can come back and tidy up the wires here in just a little bit. Okay, so we are now messing with the trigger wires inside the door. So what we have here is a little harness. You got a front magnet dangling there, and you got a rear magnet right here in my hand. And they both have a wire that's coming off of them. One is an input and one is a ground. So it says here, according to the directions, A is going to connect the white signal wire. Connect the white signal wire from the beginning wire harness to terminal A. So the signal wire on the passenger side, the white wire, will go to the butt connector here. That little bullet connector. So that's your white wire on the passenger side will go to this little bullet connector. And then the spade connector here in my hand, this needs to connect to a ground inside the vehicle. And it says to take the magnets and place them on the door in a secure location in the door jamb. So it shows here, right underneath the door latch on the passenger front door. So I'm going to go over there and take a look at that and see if that's a place that I would like to place this magnet at. Okay, so I found a hiccup here. Rough Country has dropped the ball, and I am going to let them know about it. Looking at these directions here for their wiring, it says white signal wire, driver's side. And then it also says brown signal wire is the passenger side, okay? Passenger side. So you get a little bit further into the instructions here. Remove the interior panel on the passenger side of the vehicle. Connect the white signal wire from the wiring harness to terminal A. Connect module wire B to the vehicle ground. Remove the double-sided tape, and it goes on to talk about installing it. And it says repeat the same for the driver's side. Well, how are you going to say the white wire is on the passenger side here, but then right here you're going to say the brown wire is on the passenger side? Y'all screwed up. So right now, there's no way to know which wire is the correct wire. So if I go ahead and install the brown wire on the driver's side, it may drop the boards on the passenger side when I open the driver's side door, or vice versa. I guess I'm going to have to do a trial and error run, and then I'm going to have to call Rough Country and let them know which way is the right way, and they need to fix their directions. Let's go find where we're going to place our magnet on the door here and get these wires ran. Okay, so for clarification purposes again, the magnets are going to mount inside the door jambs, and the portion of the wire that has the spade connector, which is this little guy here, that is going to go to a ground point. So you can just grind off some paint somewhere inconspicuous under a panel or something, or find a bolt, something that is a good ground, and you can connect that there. The other wire is going to go to either respectively the brown or the white signal wire. So I think what I'm going to do, because the instructions say brown wire on one side at one point and it says brown wire on the other side, I'm going to go ahead and hook it up, and if it's backwards, then that brown and white wire right there, if it actually is backwards, I'm not taking those out and reversing them. I will get 2 butt connectors. I'll cut both those wires and I'll switch them with each other. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get my first magnet per the instructions, and I'm probably going to mount it right here underneath this door latch. So I'm going to clean off a surface area here, put that in there, and make sure we don't have any interference closing the door. So the adhesive that comes on this little piece of foam, is meant to be on the outside here, underneath this, and it goes around and underneath your weather stripping. This little piece of foam here had this piece of adhesive, 3M adhesive attached to it, double-sided tape. You cannot get, it doesn't stick to the foam at all. When you try to peel the tape off, it pulls the sticky part off with it, off the foam. So now this is not sticky. Lucky for me, I have some Gorilla Tape inside the garage there. I'm going to go ahead and get a strip of that and put it on this foam, and then put that in here. So another little fault from Rough Country here. This is garbage tape. Figure out something better than this. Alright, so I got a piece of Gorilla Tape. I just cut a thin 1/4 inch strip about 6 inches long. Stuck it on the back of this piece of foam insulation, or whatever you want to call this. Pressed it all down here, went around the insulation, the weather stripping, and pressed the weather stripping on. I'm not sure I'm too fond of this technique here. I really don't know why Rough Country decided to do magnetic switches when you could just tie into the door, the power. Amp Research, there's, you plug it in the OBD2 plug. So whenever the dome light comes on that, or whenever it senses that particular door opens, it opens that running board. That will be the way to go. Maybe that's why there's a price difference, is because there's a little bit more involved in the wiring for this using the magnetic switches. So anyway, this is on there really well. It's attached in there. I got the weather stripping pushed back on. You do see a little lump right there in the weather stripping. I don't care for that. I'm not, but I'm going to go ahead and install it. It is what it is. You get what you pay for sometimes with these kits. So this may be one of the things that I don't like the most about this entire kit. Everything else looks great. but I don't like this, and I don't like the on-off switch. Anyway, plugged in the wire. It is the brown signal wire is right here. It is plugged in right here on the side. I've got it plugged in there. It's just sitting there temporarily. I'm going to go ahead and do the back, and after I do the back, I'll go do the driver's side as well. So on the back, I think the placement for this magnet is going to be somewhere around right here, right there underneath the hinge. I'm going to go double check our instructions and see where they have theirs mounted at. Okay, so yeah, that shows the rear door right there, and it's saying to put it down here towards the bottom. So that's where I'm going to put it at. So it's in your best interest to check for continuity if you have a digital multimeter to find a good ground. So as you can see here, I've got my digital multimeter out. There's a screw that's right here. You take your multimeter and you just get down here on this screw, and you take, put one lead here, and then you can take your other lead and put it right there on that bolt holding that back, the back of that seat bracket down, and you'll get a tone. It should beep, you know, that tells you got a good ground. So anyway, that's where I'm going to ground this at. It looked like an easy enough spot. I don't have to go drilling. I don't got to do anything crazy. So I'm going to take that little spade terminal right here. We're just going to slide it underneath that screw right there, and we'll have a good ground. Okay, so I got my panels back in here. Everything is buttoned up. Got this little harness in here. Everything's behind the panels where it should be. I'm leaving this panel off for right now, in case I do have to switch that brown and white wire because of the instructions being messed up. So, again, panel back on here. Wires all tucked away. Weather stripping is pushed back in nice. There's our little sensor. Now I can move on to the driver's side. Okay, so I just pulled our white wire on up inside there. You see I pulled it from that panel, went up over a couple of harnesses and things. I'm going to get some zip ties and zip tie it all nice and tight. But you see here it comes down, runs down, tucked it under the edge of the carpet, all the way underneath here to right here, underneath that harness as well. And there's our little pigtail there, our little male end. So now I can take our magnet and go ahead and get our next magnet, put him right here. And then I can run it around over to here, plug it into that, and do the same thing on the back side. And for what it's worth, just to give Rough Country a fair assessment, this magnet here on this foam, the backing wax paper did release and pull off, and the sticky adhesive is still on the foam. So two of them weren't so great. This is the first one that it's still there. So I'm going to go ahead and install this like it is instead of having to use the Gorilla Tape. I'm going to get this surface cleaned off. So the white wire that's on this side, it's a bit short. That's pulled as tight as it can go after going all the way around. And coming up here, it doesn't quite reach this connector coming off this magnet here. So I'm going to have to cut this end off, extend the wire. I've got some more wire here. We're not going to have any voltage drop because it's the same thickness wire. So I'm going to get a connector, put one on this end, put one on the other end, cut that, put it in the middle. And just like that, we have extended our wire. Just a little butt connector, like I said. We still kept the bullet connector on the end there. Just ran this blue wire in the middle of that white wire. Gave me about an additional 2.5 feet to reach where I need to get to. So next up, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our driver's side wire harness, which is this one here. It's labeled again. We're going to get this, run it up underneath the truck to the driver's side, making sure it's not interfering with anything, and get it connected on the driver's side running boards. So I just ran all the wires underneath the truck to the driver's side and the passenger side. It was not much fun. There was a zip tie. This is under the passenger side, but there was a zip tie that was holding these wires together, which made it difficult to get them plugged in and get them where they're able to be moved. The next thing that I ran into was the white wire and brown and the on-off switch that would have been up inside the cab of the truck. Because it was pulled tight to get to the other side, it was too tight to get the plugs to here. So I had to break the seal on my tape on the floorboard and pull it back down through. The wiring was just a little bit short to get back here. So I got that done. You'll notice I ran this is on the passenger side again. I went up and over the body mounts. I'm going to zip tie it up to the factory body harness. Ran it along and we got the back motor there, passenger rear is plugged in, and here's our little pigtail for our light. It's just sitting there temporarily. And then the same thing on the front. We got it plugged in up front, and here's our pigtail for the light. Now, what I do like about this new Sierra is there's tons of holes in the frame rail that you can run wires through. It's so much easier than before where you were stuck having to run something under the frame rail because there wasn't a hole in it. So, I took the harness, and if you look right here where my finger is, there's a hole in your frame rail there. And you pull it back out on that side right here. And that's our harness, running it all the way across. It's got this nice little heat wrap insulation cover on top of the wire loom to make sure it doesn't melt. And I've got it running all the way over there on top of the catch pan for the transmission and to the other side. On the other side, it's the same exact layout as this one. I run it through the frame rail. We go plug it into the driver's side front motor, and then I run it over the frame mount up against the factory wire harness all the way over to the back, and I plugged in that motor. Now I'm going to go ahead and locate my my light placement. So here's our 4 little LED lights. As you can see, they're going to be going up under there to go where you're going to place your light for your running board. So on the driver's side, we're going to go right in the center of the front door, and then we're also going to go right in the center of the back door. I'm going to open the door up to figure out where it's at, and we can go ahead and mark those and put them in there. So I found another flaw in Rough Country's directions for these steps to get this install done. It says to now locate your spot for your lights, to take your LED lights and put it where it's supposed to go, and you want to center it on the door. Well, I have installed these in the order that I was supposed to, with the boards currently up like it is. There's no power to it yet. You can't get a light in there because they're not down. They're not retracted or extended or whatever. You can't you can't put your light in. So yeah, I'm gonna have to continue the install, put power to these things, get them to open, and with them open, then I can locate where the light's gonna be. So yeah, a couple hiccups here with their instructions, and I try to follow it step by step, and I'm finding bugs. I got to work on this a little bit. So in an effort to get the steps to come down, we got to go ahead and finish the installation on the steps by routing the power wire up the driver's or the passenger side to the engine compartment where the battery is. It says here, route the fused link harness along the passenger side frame up to the battery box. Secure the wiring harness with the supplied wire ties away from heat, moving parts. Connect the fused link to the positive and negative side of the battery. This is something I've never seen before. I've been doing electronics for years, and this is the first time I've had a kit of any sort that came with a fused positive and a fused negative. That's something new. Looks like they're just double checking to make sure if there's any kind of issues it's going to pop a fuse somewhere. That's kind of cool. So if you look down inside here, you'll see my harness. It's right here. It runs down behind those wires. You see it go down, and it's going to be zip tied to this aluminum wrapped shielded this AC line, I guess. Or no, it's not. It's actually a wire harness. It's just got loom around it and aluminum foil to make sure it doesn't overheat. So I got that down there. I ran it. It's running right behind this water shield, the fender well liner. It goes down and it goes up and over a body mount, which is right here, and then it just plugs right into that box. So it was kind of tedious to get it up under there. I couldn't fit a camera in there, and I needed both my hands, so I just went ahead and did it. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and turn these power steps on and get them to move, and then we'll adjust some things. So per the instructions, I turned the switch on and off 3 times. It made the steps fold down and then open back up, fold down, open back up again. Again, they're loosely installed. You can move them. I'm going to get in here and tighten the bolts up and then see if we got to shim some things. All right, so we have them tightened. First thing I did was I came through and I tightened the bolt that holds the bracket right here going up into the bottom of the truck. And then I tightened the bolt on the back side going into the top of the frame rail. We did this one, that one up there, both driver's side, front and rear. And then I came back in here, and the 2 Allen bolts that hold the step on, I was going to tighten those. But before that, you want to double check, make sure your alignment where you want to be at with your cab and your front is equal between this side and on the other side of the truck. So I went ahead and did that. These are the Allen head screws that are underneath the bottom of this. There's just 2 of them under there. See there? And it's worth noting, it does have the torque specifications and the instructions to put this on. Follow them. If you don't, these bolts they're not super great. You are risking stripping something out. So make sure you do it the correct way. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and clean off. Now that I have an opening here to put my lights on, I'm going to locate where my lights are going to be at, clean off the surface there, and stick those on and plug them in. Now that I got my lights installed, you see they're hanging up there. The only thing left to do now is plug them in. So, Rough Country mentions in one of their videos, you could drill a hole in this pinch seam here and run it through. If they included grommets to protect the wire, I most certainly would do that, because I don't like this wire hanging down like that. Again, just another little, I don't know, a little gripe about their kit. Whatever, let's get them plugged in. Alright, so I got the running boards on there. I had to shim them a little bit. The driver's side was perfect when I put it on. No issues there. And then the passenger side, the back was about 1.5 inches lower than the front for some reason. So I had to get in there and manipulate it. I ended up putting some shims in there on the back to make sure that it got a little bit higher. It's still not perfect. It's still maybe, I don't know, a 1/16 of an inch down from the front. But I've got 2 shims stacked up, and that's about as good as it's going to get. So we're going to leave it alone. But yeah, next we have to go ahead and get these door magnets put in. I got lucky with this one. I just took a piece of Gorilla Tape and stuck it to the back side of the adhesive. So I did not peel the red tape off yet, right? I put a piece of Gorilla Tape on it, and I just guessed. I just stuck it on the door and closed it, and it happened to work. There you go. So that one's good. And the other one, I went about a different technique. I took the magnet, stuck it on the door, or actually I stuck it on the magnet on the inside, the sensor on the inside here. I just stuck the magnet there, caked up a bunch of Gorilla Tape, and stuck it on there. And then I closed the door. So now when I open the door, the magnet should be stuck to this door. I haven't opened it yet. There you have it. It's stuck on the door. So now all I have to do is clean that spot off and put it on. Okay, so that's that. I got the boards put in. They open and close with all 4 doors. All the lights are lighting up. Everything looks like it should. All I have left to do is to get these zip ties, climb under there, zip tie some stuff up, and clean up the harness. Make sure everything's out of the way, nothing's hitting anything. Same thing under the hood. I got to put this these zip ties down here and clean it all up. All right, so finally done with the Sierra with the running boards. I will say that it is a lengthy process to do this. Mainly it's the tedious stuff with the wiring and with the magnetic switches on the doors. It's really not a difficult install. It just takes a little bit of time, and it's a little bit tedious. So if you're comfortable with wiring, which there's not a whole lot of wiring, it's, you know, I mean, really, it's pretty much plug and play. But I did have to extend some wires. My overall review of the Rough Country automated steps is their instructions they lack. Their instructions lack a little bit. They're a little bit confusing at some spots. They did have the wiring incorrectly labeled between the white wire and the brown wire from the passenger side to the driver's side. They had it one way in the diagram. They had it another way when they were listing out the actual instructions. So that can be a bit problematic. I did go ahead and roll with it the way that I had it, which was the white wire on the driver's side and the passenger wire, or the passenger side, I left the brown wire over there. And then when I got to the instructions where it specifically said start tying in the wires on the passenger side, it referenced a white wire. And I just said, forget it, I'm going to leave the brown wire there and see what happens. Well, when I got it all installed, it worked. Left side was for the left side, right side was for the right side. No issues at all. So they have a typo in there. That said, I extended a wire on the driver's side to reach the magnetic sensor. I also had issues with the length of wire going to the control box on the passenger side frame rail. It also stated in the instructions later on in the instruction process, it did state, it referenced that control box being on the driver's side. So that's another hiccup in their instructions. Anyway, overall, they perform like they should. They do what they're supposed to do. They make that same clunk noise whenever you close the door. They clunk when they hit the bottom of the truck. They're not physically hitting the bottom of the truck. It's when the arm retracts completely and the elbow bends and it stops, it makes a clunk noise. It's not hitting the truck. My major gripe with this kit is that they do not include grommets to go through the pinch seam with the lights that shine down on the running boards. Over a period of time, that wire will chafe. Let me show you. Over a period of time, you see that little wire inside there, right there. That's your wire that goes to your light. That little wire will chafe on that pinch seam, okay? And when that happens, it's going to pop a fuse. It's going to short out. It's going to pop a fuse. And you're going to be chasing your tail trying to figure it out. I just hope that it lasts longer than the 2 or 3 years that I'm probably going to own this truck. I usually sell my vehicles within about 2 years, 3 years, go get another new one. So, that said, I think they should have a better design than that. You should have something that's, not risking the chafing on the pinch seam that's going to mess something up down the road. Rough Country needs to address that. The next thing that I have a gripe about is the magnetic switch. Like I said, amp research bars, you plug it in the OBD2 sensor plug or the OBD2 plug, and it opens and closes the circuit with the door, with the dome lights. Door triggers, it knows where it's at, and it opens and closes with that. Yeah, it ties up your OBD2 plug, but you never really drive around with anything plugged in that anyway. I don't understand why Rough Country can't just go ahead and do it where it ties into the OBD2 plug. So the magnetic switches on the doors, I'm not a fan of that. Again, you take the pigtail wire and you run it around the pinch seam, and then you force your weather stripping over it. And I'm just not a fan of that. It's going to chafe the wires. It will do it eventually. So it's just something to keep note of. Folks who are trying to save $1,000 or $800 or whatever by not buying the amp research bars, I mean, they work, yes. I'm a little disappointed in the way that it comes. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably call these about a 7 out of 10 due to, you know what, I'm not even going to go that high. I'll call it a 6 out of 10. That's because the instructions aren't very clear. There's issues. There's just discrepancies in the instructions. And the wiring, there was a couple issues with that, the pinch seams and the chafing of the wires that's going to occur in the future. So yeah, 6 out of 10. My amp research bars that I have in my truck, I give them a 9 out of 10. The other truck that I have, it's, there was really no issues with it. Occasionally, there'll be a little hiccup with the door or the step not coming down, and usually it's because your OBD2 plug is loose or something like that. You just pull it out, plug it back in, and it's fine, no problems. I've had it for 3 years with not a single problem, and the wires don't get chafed. Anyway, so there you have it. Thank you so much for watching the video. You're watching DIY Dozier. If you like the content, be sure to click that bell and subscribe so you can be notified of future content being released. As always, share the knowledge, share the passion, share the skill. Do it yourself.